Here we are continuing video 2 for section 4.3, and we're picking up right where we left off, and that is example number 4. Example number 4 does add a little bit something different in that it's going to give us a different situation. It's going to give us side, 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 and we do need to take care of that. Little a is 9, little b is 6, and little c is 5. And so we still have side, 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 which means we have to use the law of cosines, but it is going to take a little bit more calculation. And so, but we set it up in the same way, except the problem is we don't know what side are we looking for. So if I know all three sides, I always start with a on the left-hand side. So I do 9 squared equals, and then I treat it exactly the same as the law of cosines. Take the two other sides, minus 2 times the two sides times the cosine of the angle that we want to know in this case, which is a, because that's the included angle between the 6 and the 5. So this can become 81 equals 36 plus 25 minus 60 cosine of a. If I bring these two over here, let's see, 36 plus 25 is 61, and subtract it, so I'll get 20 equals negative 60 cosine of a. Divide both sides by negative 60, so that the cosine of a equals negative 1/3, and therefore, taking the arc cosine of both sides, and so we look, let's see, the arc cosine of negative 1/3 is equal to, and since this is an angle, we get to round to the nearest degree, 109 degrees. Calculator gives us 109 degrees. Now we can use the law of sines to continue from this point. The sine of 109 degrees over 9 is equal to the sine of b over 6. We don't really need to do c, because once we find b, c is easily calculated. And so we do the cross products. 9 sine of b equals 6 sine of 109 degrees. Divide both sides by 9. Then take the arc sine of both sides. Since this is an angle, we can round to the nearest degree. So arc sine of 6 times sine of 109 degrees divided by 9 is equal to 39 degrees. So angle B is 39 degrees. Which leaves C would then be 180 minus 109 plus 39, or 180 minus 148 equals 32. So angle C would be 32 degrees. And there we have solved the triangle for problem number 4. The final group of problems here are word problems. And so we begin with problem number 5. In flying the 75 miles from Champaign to Peoria, A student pilot sets a heading that is 11 degrees off course. And maintains an average speed of 100 miles per hour. After 15 minutes, the instructor notices the course error and tells the student to correct his heading. So 100 miles per hour after 15 minutes, that doesn't take long to realize we've gone a quarter of an hour. So that is, we've gone 25 miles. And after 15 minutes, the instructor notices the course error and tells the student to correct his heading. Through what angle will the plane move to correct the heading, and how many miles away is Peoria when the plane turns? So after a certain amount of time, my drawing's just slightly off, he's going to turn, so we want to know what is that angle and what is this distance right here. So those are the two things we need to find. So we look at this, we have side, angle, side, so that is law of cosines, and we want to find this side over here, which we could calculate pretty quickly with the law of cosines. So that will become x squared equals 25 squared plus 75 squared minus 2 times 25 times 75 times the cosine of 11 degrees. And just punching this whole mess into the calculator, get 2568.90. And then finding what x is, taking the square root of it, in other words, we get 50.7. Now that answers how far away they are from Peoria, or in other words, 50.7 miles. Now the next question becomes, what angle do they have to turn through? In other words, they were going this way. Ooh, we have to be careful. It says, through what angle will the plane move? So actually it's not this angle, it's this angle right here. Because he was going this way, and then he has to go this way. So, but in order to answer that, we're going to have to find this angle right here first. So to find this angle right here, I'm going to call that A, because that's the airplane. So the sine of A over 75 will equal the sine of 11 degrees over 50.7, which we just calculated. And then all we have to do is find A. So we're going to do cross products. 75 sine of 11 degrees equals 50.7 sine of A. Dividing both sides by 50.7, the sine of A becomes 75 sine of 11 degrees over 50.7, and finding A, all we have to do is take the arc sine of that, and this is a degree, so we get to round to the nearest degree. So taking the arc sine of 75 times the sine of 11 divided by 50.7 is equal to 16 degrees. Now once again, that represents this angle right here. This is 16 degrees. But that doesn't answer the question that we need to know. We need to know what is that angle right there. So the actual angle that's going to be measured is 180 minus 16 degrees, or it's going to have to make quite a wide turn. It's going to have to turn it at 164 degrees. That's what it's going to have to turn it through. That answers the second part to that problem. And example number 6. A famous golfer tees off on a straight 390-yard par 4. This is 390 yards if the golfer would do what he needs to do. And slices his drive to the right. The drive goes 290 yards from the tee. Using a 7-iron on his second shot, he hits the ball 180 yards, and it lands only inches from the hole. How many degrees to the nearest degree to the right of the line from the tee to the hole did he slice his drive? In other words, what's that angle right there? So here we have a side, 390, 290, and 180. And I need to know what theta is. So that becomes my important angle, and so it's just a matter of plugging this into the law of cosines. Since this is my important angle, this is my important side. So 180 squared equals 390 squared plus 290 squared minus 2 times 390 times 290 times the cosine of theta. Okay, I'm going to have to do some calculation here. 180 squared is 32,400. 390 squared is 152,100. 290 squared is 84,100. 2 times 390 times 290 is 226,200 cosine of theta. So I'm going to take these two, add them together, and subtract them from both sides. So 152,100 plus 84,100, and I'm going to subtract that from both sides, gives negative 203,800 equals a negative 226,200 cosine of theta. Divide both sides by negative 226,200, and the cosine of theta would then equal a positive, let's see, 2,038 divided by 2,262, and it doesn't really, I mean, it would round for or simplify further, but really all we need to do is take the arc cosine of this. I will guarantee nowhere does this fraction show up on our table. So all we need is the arc cosine of that, and to the nearest degree, and it says specifically, we're going to take the arc cosine of 2038 divided by 2262, and we end up with 26 degrees. So he was 26 degrees off, which is quite bad. That actually sounds like as bad as iGolf. So how far did he slice it? Through an angle of 26 degrees.